So it's kind of late in the day and I was just a bit tired, but hey, video! I've been procrastinating this for like 3 days now and I think it's about time I do it. So this is my second attempt at creating a realistic character using Blender, ZBrush, Substance and Substance Painter. I really did just want to make everything out of Blender just to see what happens. Like I remember really liking to scope using Blender previously, but ever since I got my new drawing tablet, the Hulion. It's just a weird Hulian screen tablet, which I thought was pretty good for the pricing at the time. It has really bad sensitivity. It's not, like, not even joking. This is legit the most disappointing machine I ever owned. I owned five drawing tablets, and literally the only box I ever thrown for a drawing tablet. So it's literally the only device I have that doesn't own a box. The pressure of the paint color just jumps out from low to high quite a bit. Even though I put in the same exact pressure on it, it just jumps instantaneously, and that really bothers me when it comes to shape and sculpting. So I can't really deal with that too much. So I switched to ZBrush, which doesn't seem to really affect it that much. In terms of the creation process and making the actual character, it doesn't really change much from the last time I tried it. I did a lot of modeling, the basic modeling, the form creations, the different parts of the body, like the hands and face separately inside of Blender. And I kind of just switched from the Blender to ZBrush quite constantly. ZBrush I used to add the more detailed stuff in, and Blender I just like to double check perspective is fine, all the shape is fine, and to try rendering things out to see if everything's okay. I sometimes just like using the pinch tool inside of Blender, just to change out a lot of shapes, and use the grab tool inside of Blender to just drag out different facial parts. I don't know why, but I just feel like the tools in the Blender are just so much more responsive than ZBrush that feels a lot older, just not that responsive in terms of modeling. Just like what I did for my last models or any sculpts I ever do, I like to navigate my model a lot more than what most people prefer. I don't like staying on a single angle at all. I do like 500 goddamn turns before I ever make a single decision on where I want to place a stroke on the face or the body. For this sculpt though, I mainly focus on the facial and also the torso. It's not supposed to be a full body or a highly detailed full body sculpt, although I originally planned it to be, as I wanted to use it as a fashion model for one of my design projects. But it didn't turn out that well and ran out of time, so I kind of just mainly refined it in the last stages on the facial and the torso upwards portions of the character. On a lot of the final renders of the actual character itself, when you place the lamp on the side of on the face, which I did for my final render, you will notice the bridge of the nose a bit too low for the size, so it kind of looked mangled a bit. So that's something I definitely improved on. But generally everything is fine, though I do think this is a downgrade from my previous render, which I'm actually quite fond of. For this project especially, this is a 1.5 month old project that I've been kind of working on. This is kind of a side thing for me to do as I work on a lot of my architecture projects, my CAD project, designing a new shelf or whatever. But yeah, this is a video project of mine, so this scope I did is right at the beginning, so this is literally the most outdated thing about this project itself. Once I felt like the actual form of the model is actually pretty well and sculpted, I move on to the retopology phase, importing everything else in the Blender from ZBrush using the add-on Go B. The topology on this model is actually a lot better than my previous one. It's actually pretty clean, nothing is too go down the middle. There's no like angons or whatever, just like empty edges or empty vertices floating in the middle, nowhere causing issues. Though going through this phase, that exposed me to a lot of issues, or going through this entire project glitches within Blender, newest version anyways, that I'm using 2.90.1, I think it's the version I'm using, which the multi-rest modifier is not actually perfect. So when you try to edit something inside the edit mode and go into object mode, it will show a lot of things like a giant spiky bomb thing. If you don't re-add or cancel the multi-rest modifier inside, yeah, it will continue to show like that in render whatever if you don't redo it. It's there, I know, it's strange, whatever. Retopology style, an area that I'm really good at. For me it's a bit of a struggle, and I just mainly try to keep chords all around the place, create the loops I needed. So when it animates, it actually animates like actual muscles. So it actually have the flow of muscles and everything. It's nothing too complicated. I didn't add like special layers with topology, like dead end loops or something like that, joining loops. Nothing so too fancy. Just the main thing is to make sure everything's animatable and riggable. So I attach the rig to it before anything else, and just make sure the muscles bends as opposed to a character. Alright, now all the rigging stuff and animation is done and tested. It's about time to start the texturing process by importing everything into Substance Painter. So I usually like to use FBX, and for this time around for the UVs, I just go with standard single way UV. I usually like using just a simple smart material, use the belly, face, cheek, whatever. I think you cheek for this one, and usually the size of the texture usually comes a bit too large. Anyway, I mean like a bit too large, I mean like 100 times too large. So I usually scale that thing down a bit and start doing what I want. I actually come back to Substance Painter second time, but I won't really show in this video. But the one is though, it turned out a bit more saturated than wanted it to be. So I came back here to make the colors a bit more simpler, add a bit more white to everything. Texturing is kind of a hard thing. It's kind of a hard thing because you need to also estimate for subdivision, different texture lighting conditions. Although it looked fine on my screen inside a Substance Painter, that doesn't exactly mean it will look fine inside Blender. Even if it looks good inside a Substance, compared to crap inside Blender after all the lighting setup, after adding the subdivisions or subsurface scattering on top of the skin, it could just make everything look a bit too watered down, and you need to fix that over again. Because retexturing everything is such a chore though, I usually just add in like a saturation node or like a color mix node with a lighter color. It just kind of just used to do that instead. Because I didn't go with like any UDIMs or anything like that, it's a single UDIM, so it's only a single set of AK textures. So AK base color, AK normal maps, whatever. Which is really low. I know people are like, what AK? But like, if you're going for realism, you really do like need several of 8K textures, because this one, for me at least, I can just tell like the pixel is pixelated. So when you put a camera with high resolution to it, it just doesn't really do a good enough job for it. For my last project though, I'm referring that again. I think I used like 5 sets of 8K textures, like 5 different UDIMs. One 8K texture just for the face alone, and one for the torso, one for the arms, one for the foot, one I think for the leg as well. Though I think for not for the leg, just for the foot. The foot itself only like had like a really small one, so like I think it was a 4K or something like that. And I think the hand also had a separate UDIM, which I think was also 4K, so it kind of matches up with everything else. Something hilarious that I actually have an issue with is actually the shaders for my procedurally generated eyes. I tried to rig that to actually rig up the character, but that backfired on me because the way it's set up for the procedural uses like the world coordinates. So the world coordinates for the 2 different projects where I created the eyes for my original project, which I reused, and this one, and the direction which the character faces is different. So when I try to apply the transformations, it kind of just rotated like 90 degrees, and you just see the red behind the eyes, which is hilarious, really. And right now, you see the issue that I go with the eyes are like not really the iris of the eyes not completely showing up black. I'm not sure if I changed it yet, but I did run into that issue with the eyes. So like have too much specular stuff like that, it starts shining. So I turned down the specular down by still having somewhat of that issue. So I turned up subsurface scatter, which helped a lot with the issue. Kind of a really strange issue as well, where the eyes only turn like grayish, like silver, only if you ever apply the hair. Without the actual hair particle system, it kind of just remain black as it's supposed to be, as a default base color, even if a bit of specular. But like, I don't know, after adding the hair, it kind of always turns weird. On the talks about issues though, the shading of the hair was an issue, though that was a technical one. It was the first time I ever tried making a hair, or any kind of hair texture playing around with it. So didn't even know there was a principal hair texture. Just try using hair node, principal hair node, was the way to go. So I did a lot of research into that, how that works, and research about how melon works. Melon, I don't know how to say it, but it's like the different transition of hair to color. It's a substance of hair that determines what color of your hair is. So low melon means like blonde or something, and high of it means black. I'm not sure. Another issue, a genuine issue of which I'm pretty sure is a bug inside Blender while working on the project, and for the only reason only affecting this project is that, well, this is the thing. So I got my eyebrows over here, the character over here, looking pretty nice. You gotta go, children, go to interpolate. Eyebrows are gone. Where they gone? I don't know. It's like spread over the body or everywhere that's count as like the heat map suggests, because I don't have a heat map or like what is these maps set on the density of the hair. It just have the entire body as the heat map just spreads the hair over the place. If you go simple, it just does what the hell this does. So yeah, basically because that's how I had to do everything manually without children. I suddenly also learned something new today that surprised me. Interpolate are supposed to do this. So if you have a single hair, like hair swelling out of here, and you interpolate, spreads all over the model to the approximate direction that it was previously in when children. You can even see the base face like swelling hair going upwards. I didn't know that before. I thought you take a resistant hair, then just subdivide it and just put hair in between the areas, which is really weird. I hope it didn't do that, but it does this apparently. But simple is really taking a single piece of hair and just subdividing around it and just adding extra hair following the same direction. So yeah, instead of doing what it's supposed to do in my model for my character, it's this spiral with stuff all around it. I'm not sure if that's like a transformation thing or whatever, but that made like adding like eyebrows and like the correct amount of eyelashes really difficult because I work with this large amount of numbers of eyebrows at the same time because the child functionality wouldn't work. After this point though, I'll spend the next about I want to say about a week or so just playing around the lighting, getting the texture light. I think it was about 4 days I think to get the actual texture. In the meantime though, the hair turned purple, which is neat. Yeah, I tried testing out a bunch of stuff using the hair info node, and I think that I tried using the normals, something like that give you a gradient of the hair, which I used the color ramp on to like change the directions to where I want the tint of the hair. So in the original reference photo that this scope was based off, which is the first time for me, the hair had like a tint to it, like halfway through the thing, and transitions to nothing. So you kind of had a mix between really dark brown, and like just red tint as well. So yeah, like red tint in general, brown the hair, but like it also had like more of a tint of around in some certain areas. I was trying to use this this hilarious amazing hair to like transition of the normal to like color ramp and determine the area where I wanted it. So now about this point it's just kind of the fun recording for the last day of it. So it's all about changing the lightings, adding the eyelashes, making all the hair is making a point. The thickness of the hair is about 0.015 meters because the character is a bit larger. It's larger models inside Blender. It just makes things a little bit easier to work with because the vertices don't lap easily. Just make sure everything's animated rightly and everything's intact. Make sure just the shaders, the metallic shaders on the button, but I don't even think I noticed in this one, so I added some noise as a masking to like do different types of metallic shades. One has a bit more of a golden tint to it and a bit of more rough to it, and another one is a bit more shiny and also like slightly less golden tint to it to make sure everything's okay. Just testing a lot of renders, just like 1/3 of renders I did. So trying out different light setups like 2 lamps on top of each other or like different lighting to see which one's the best. And yeah, this is the one I was most happy with, and it's really just a bunch of trial and error. So this is kind of it, and kind of feels horrible for like ending of a project that really works so long on. But coming up is going to be a bunch of videos about me with trying out 2D arts, my design project, and probably some expectations for high school now I just finished it, and probably some expectation for a Cert 3 in 3D arts. But alert, doing a Cert 3 inside of 3D art is not a good idea. Alright, thank you for watching everybody. If anybody watched this video, I don't know why. Hey, I hope you stay safe and have a good day. Okay? Bye bye.